Welcome to the Academic Observer on Economics, Business and Finance. This is for episode 22. It's 8 in the morning here in Manchester, United Kingdom. Today's topic is a quick one. It's about what you see in the title, Critical Minerals Gap. And me giving my opinion on how minerals are being mismanaged to fit political ideas of the world. As simple as. And this comes after I just read just now a recent document. It was released by the International Energy Agency, the IEA. And you'll see throughout why I think this is relevant to talk about and to speak. Now, bear with me. First of all, when people call certain minerals critical, they tend to mean it more politically than geologically, correct? And that can be a big interpretive mistake. It just makes the term subjective. So, for example, Canada designates minerals as critical, different to the US. For Canadians, there are around 30 minerals in that list. For the US, there are over 50. For the US, materials like helium, copper, potash, uranium are considered critical, but for Canada, they're not. So it has much to do with the country's foreign relations and politics more than anything else. Let's put it that way. But then we also know that by definition, how do you define critical? I define it as something scarce, right? So calling minerals critical would mean calling them geographically scarce. But politically, critical could also mean something that's valuable to one's economy, especially for those that are interested in carbon energy transitions. Why? Because minerals are essential to green energy projects. Remember, by the way, when you're transitioning energy systems nowadays, all that means is you're just moving from a hydrocarbon intensive to a material intensive energy source. So when you classify these transitions as being fully sustainable and renewable, be careful because you are ignoring the source of these renewables, the source of building the turbines, the solar panels, the batteries, distribution networks as well. Now, where am I trying to get here? What's the purpose of this episode? I don't think I have clarified myself enough. Well, if you read the International Energy Agency's recent minutes, you'll realize that their critical standpoint for minerals is based on two major points. The first one being on the West's dependence on China and Russia for security concerns, and the second one, the need to greatly expand exploration for nickel, lithium, manganese, cobalt. These are just the useful ones I'm thinking of right now, to fulfill the net zero targets they have by 2050, right? And I'm here to argue about what this means to the real supply chain, demand uncertainties, and the minerals industry's stability. Because most people don't know this, right? But because of, for example, the net zero targets by 2050 thing, it is predicted that minerals in general will need to up their supply by 6-fold until 2040 to match demand, right? And that is just in general. For lithium, which is a very popular one, we need 42 times more supply than we already have today. Graphite to 25 times more, cobalt 20 times more, nickel 19x, even copper, such a common resource, expects a 3-fold rise in extraction from the ground. And this is all in a span of 20 years, by the way. That's the demand given by the world. It's a political demand on critical minerals. Now, I would think that it is more sensical to look at this and to look at critical minerals through the geological perspective rather than the political one. It doesn't have to be a big issue. I'm not stressing over this. I'm just offering a rational think about the world in the coming years after reading this just 30 minutes ago. So I think that the problem of critical minerals and their dependencies on other nations from the East goes far beyond the war in Russia and them controlling oil prices or all the foes you see with Iran, Saudi, China, whatever. Because unlike oil, natural gas, coal, which you can honestly find in every corner of the world, minerals are very, very, very geographically concentrated. So I guess you could say, yes, China is still a concern, even if you look at the critical minerals geologically, because it produces 25% of them, of the world's supply, right? And 99% of the world's REs. But for example, if you'd want to bulk buy nickel, you have to go to Indonesia. They have over 40% market share of nickel. If you want cobalt, you must hit the DRC. And if you want copper, you have to travel to the Andes, to Chile, and then Peru. And to build onto this, mineral extractions today are far below the targets and expectations given by the public bodies, what I talked about, right, for the net zero targets of 2050. It's extremely far from reaching these political goals of energy transition. Today's global mining is actually stalled. We are extracting, as a society, less than what we did in 2019. The drop in mining has very much to do with the geological reality of the world. It's too much pressure, right? So you see declining ore grades, the quality of deposits are very low. All the regulatory uncertainties, they don't help either. You've got a bunch of these social licenses for extractive industries, and most importantly, it's those ESG standards which serve mainly political interests more than anything else, and makes what the IEA had to say in the document I just read slightly unreasonable, because ESG standards, first of all, they cause investment movements to think very carefully about the environment, social and governance aspects of their businesses. And well, that inherently causes disadvantages to resource extraction. So it's defending energy transitioning and clean energy solutions, but it's also slowing down the extraction of minerals needed to achieve these goals. And this is just a thought I had. How come it's not talked about more? I don't understand how that's supposed to work. So then I went to look at the financials of the industry, right? The way things are today, it's expected to fall, both spending and financing. So capex in mining has gradually decreased over the course of 10 years. It was $160 billion worth in 2012. Now it's just under 90 billion, almost cut in half. If you look at the industry's debt plus equity, it was around 120 billion in 2013. Now it's as low as $40 billion. So even if theoretically spending and investing in mining was to be reversed, it would still probably take decades to fully productively reverse. Just considering that on average it takes around 15 years, right, for a company to move from exploration to discovery. It's very bureaucratic, right? You still have lots of phases. Proposal, approvals, financing, construction, and then finally production. So to conclude, I am wary that meeting the goals of the IEA, which I see as being rather political, I think it causes us to probably go through some very tough and probably unrealistic times ahead. I'm still a great advocate for green, clean energy. I believe in climate change, all of that. I'm just trying to offer this empirical perspective. It's a bit personal, sure, but I think I'm being reasonable. And I work in this industry right now. I'm in trade finance for minerals as well, but I'm still no expert, and I would love some more discussion on this matter. So yeah, this was the Academic Observer on Economics, Business, and Finance. I think this episode makes sense to make. It has to do with macroeconomics, the economics of the world. So I think it's relevant to this podcast, and thanks you for listening. Let me know what you think. Bye-bye.